What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg here with Joe Pasalacqua. And today we're going to be talking about what we believe are the 5 biggest keys to opening, succeeding with multiple locations. All right. So for those of you that don't know, we are currently on 6 locations. We opened up Westfield in August. And so we've expanded to 6, 7 locations in the past. COVID had to shrink back down, but in that process had streamlined a lot of what we do to grow back. And so we thought it would be cool to have an episode of like, okay, if you're someone looking to add a second or even a third location, if you're a gym owner, what are some of the key things to succeeding? So first one we have on the list is having the right team. So Joe, why is team so important?
Team. I mean, that's the biggest growth pattern, right? Is a lot of people that I see that struggle as the owners of the locations. It's all about time management. When you're an owner operator, okay, you are doing everything.
Yeah.
You're coaching classes, you're cleaning the floors, you're selling, you're doing marketing, you're running the website, and you can only do so much in one day.
Yeah.
And what you get is you just get work fatigue of monotonous work that is just like very mentally overwhelming.
Mhm.
The gym business is not hard. It doesn't require like an in-depth thought process of like,
You're not selling like online widgets or something
No.
like that. It's in-person
it's
conversation.
in person. It's like a very sales dominant, personable business.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what the gym business is. Especially the micro gym business. It's more like a personal training sale than it is anything else. Okay. But the problem is it's all about time management. So if you don't have the right person to replace yourself with,
Yeah.
okay. An example of that is when I went from coaching all the classes to half, I had John.
Yeah.
Okay. And John filled that void for me.
Yeah.
Okay. On the staff perspective. Okay. And then when we opened Roseland, I had Marquand. Okay?
Yeah.
I was still coaching classes, but I started coaching less at Sparta. John filled as needed as he could, but he was also helping me with the other location and everything else. So what you start to get is your quality just gets diminished because you have to make sure you place the right person to replace you. So when you talk about having the right team, you need to be able to dictate, hey, I'm removing myself from these responsibilities and you are now responsible for these. You need to be able to do them better, or if not as good as I was doing them, to be able to keep the same process, procedure, and quality.
Yeah. Because when you start the business, you theoretically should be the best salesperson, the best coach, the best everything, because you're getting the most reps at doing all those things. And theoretically, you should care the most because it's your friggin' neck on the line if it doesn't work out.
Exactly.
Right. And so when you start to step away because you're growing and you're hiring a team, it's putting a lot of trust in that individual. Like, okay, hey, I'm not coaching anymore. And you experience this. Members are like, oh, I want to take Joe's class, right? Okay, they're going to want to see me. I need to replace myself with someone just like you said, just as good, if not better than
You got to
me.
like almost gas yourself up.
Yeah.
Being like, all right, I'm going to be able to do, okay, they love Joe's classes, but like, I'm going to make sure that they love my classes, or if not more than
Yes.
his classes.
Yeah. And so you need to have people that you can trust that follow the processes you've put in place and believe in where you're going. Because if they don't, if you put someone in there that doesn't believe in the vision, or especially in the gym business, it's just a job, right? Like it's not going to be successful. And so it's trying to find that you have to have the right people. And if you don't have the right people, things start to crumble.
Well, and then we started to see that multiple times in different locations with people that
Yeah.
were just like,
I mean, we experienced it.
whether they were a good fit at one point and then they ended up not being a good fit, but it's relatively understanding and recognizing that problem and trying to address it as fast as possible. Because we've talked about this many times on here, it's all time. I just talked about time value.
Yeah.
Time value is also, if you don't make a decision fast enough, it just like chews you up for months.
Yeah.
And you don't see the effects for it for many, many months.
Yeah. So the first thing, like we said, is having the right team. Second thing is having strong systems and processes. Now, this is super, super important because, I was listening to a couple business podcasts recently, specifically geared around the gym industry. And the gentleman on this podcast said he has certain markers in place that he wants people to have before they ever think about opening a second location. Right. But a lot of people, a
lot of those I don't agree with. A lot of those things.
Right. But a lot of people are like, maybe they have one gym that's fairly successful and they're just hustling. And they're like, cool, I'm doing well at this. They're like, what's the next thing? They want to open a second location.
The hardest, you knew this, was 1 to 2 was the most difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the processes in place, you're not expanding just your brand. You're expanding a problem. So now it's like, I don't just have these problems to fix. I have both problems to fix because I don't have the systems and processes in place for us to continue to grow.
Exactly. It's about time management of if you're the owner operator of one business and you are still the owner operator of that business, now you're just the fucking owner operator of two businesses.
Two businesses, yes.
Okay. So you just get spread too thin.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Your quality just gets diminished because you can only work so many hours in a day. You eventually just get burnt.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And this happened to you in the beginning, was like, okay, cool. I, as the business owner, know the systems and processes because I created them. And I know what to do because it's in my head. But if I don't get it down on paper, get it into an SOP, a standard operating procedure, a doc, a handbook, whatever, then when I hire someone, they have to figure that all out themselves. And then, like you said, what ends up happening is members fall through the cracks. People leave. People get forgotten about. People don't get the services they signed up for because they don't know, that new person doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. Whereas if you have a system, it's easy to say to a new hire, cool, hey, when this person walks in, like for us, we have a system around the moment someone walks in the building looking for a consultation, what happens? First thing they do is they get introduced to the general manager. Then they get handed a water and they get asked to fill out an intake form. Once they finish that intake form, they come in for the consultation. Once they finish that consultation, they fill out the paperwork. Once they fill out the paperwork, they create their online account on the iPad. It's like every step in the process for something very simple. And it might seem silly, but now it's really easy.
Like
new general manager, this is what
you
do.
Oh, you didn't have them fill out. Oh no, I forgot to do the paperwork. Okay, that's a problem.
Right. And you can't say you didn't know.
Oh, they don't want to sign in the class. Right. And all those things are so important because you're taking a business and you're breaking it down to little micro things.
Yeah.
And that's why we operate so efficiently, because we know, okay, this person signed up. Now it's this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that person's taking class, and then it's all those other things.
Right.
But it's all streamlined for control and efficiency.
Yeah. And it was something we had to learn because, again, you just get used to doing things. And Joe was really good at he'd be like, all right, cool. I need help with this. Chris, this is how I do it. Figure it out. And I have a decent memory, so I'd remember some of the stuff, but then it was like, if I don't write this down, we're going to have a problem. So once we developed all that, me, him, and John worked together to develop those systems and processes. Now it's like really easy to hire someone and get that done. But if you don't have those in place, you just expand a problem. And then the third thing was creating effective communication rhythms. So what that means is, like, as the company grows, communication gets harder, right? When it's one location and it's just you and John, it's really easy to be like, hey man, I need you to do X, Y, or Z. Yeah. I remember John telling me, he was like, yeah, when it was just one location, it was easy. Joe and I'd go in, we'd get in early, we'd coach some classes, do something.
Then we get everything done.
Yeah. Go get breakfast or lunch at the diner, and we talk about what was going to happen. But when the company grows, like, again, with 6 locations, yesterday, I had meetings all day yesterday. I had to meet with Marquand, Felicia, Franco. I meet with Shannon today, but it's like, I can't be with each of them in person all the time. So you have to have certain rhythms in place. And what I mean by that is different meetings that need to be developed. So some of the things that we do is I meet weekly with Joe. Every Friday, him and I meet. The reason why that's important is we get to talk about, cool, what have we gotten done? What was accomplished? What are we still working on? What's the direction? Cool. I now know who to talk to and what to do next week. I have bi-weekly meetings with John via marketing, bi-weekly meetings with Shannon in terms of our district managers, weekly email communication, or now I'm developing, because I have a little bit more time, weekly meetings. But again, those are super important to have weekly or bi-weekly meetings or daily check-ins, because if you don't do that, then you lose the rhythm of the business, you lose communication, and you never grow. I mean, how often we talk almost every single day.
Yeah, we do. But there's things that we say, hey, we'll talk about this more on Friday. Something that's maybe not like a super priority.
Yeah.
Right. We leave it to Friday and say, hey, where are we at with this project?
Yeah.
How did John, I don't talk to John that much.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to, because you're the one that is working coincide with him, because you're running the operations and he's running all the marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing and media. So for me, it's like, I don't really, you guys are the only 2 people that I really need to communicate with, but it's really, I just need to communicate with you for the most part.
Yeah.
Right. Now we have this new assistant that started.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes it even easier, because it's like she's working on projects that I'm giving to her directly, or you are giving to her directly, and it's able to chip away at things.
But if you don't have those communication rhythms in place, again, things fall through the cracks and the member experience suffers.
It's really the expectation of, when you hire someone, like Shannon's in a district manager role, these are your expectations. Right. And in the beginning, you were doing a lot of them because you weren't letting go of them, right?
Right.
And it's not by fault. It's just like you were doing them for so long that it's like, I don't know if I can take my hand off of this.
Yeah.
But then it came to the realization of like, no, she has to do these things.
Yeah.
Okay. So now she starts doing those district manager roles and those things. But now what it does for you is you now only need to check in with her about anything related to the GMs because it's her job to have a handle on that. And then we've talked about this before too, is it allows you to then point the finger at this isn't done and whose fault is it?
Yeah, you know exactly who to go to.
Yes.
But then it also frees up our time at the top to be able to be like, okay, I'm less in the weeds. I mean, you talked about this the other day. You said to me, it's like, all right, we just developed this, this, and this. We have, for those of you that are listening, if it hasn't come out yet, we got a lot of stuff that's going to be rolling out here in the next, 3 to 6 months. And it's taken so long to get it done and get it done right, but we're getting there. So, be on the lookout for that. But you were like, okay, well, what do I do now? And so it's like, all right, well, I shift to the next thing that's going to grow the business, right? Today, it's funny. I was looking at my Asana and it's like, oh, I don't have as much on here today. So you know what I did this morning was I mapped out, okay, where's the most common drop-off point for our members? I actually sent the email to you and John this morning. It's like, hey, we're going to talk about this in our monthly meeting. It's like, okay, where do most people fall off at each of our gyms? What can we do to prevent that fall off to get people that's going to stay to us longer?
Yeah.
That's going to push the business forward that I couldn't do.
Yeah, it's revolving client value. That's the business. It's
Right.
recurring client value.
And I couldn't do that if I didn't listen to you and be like, no, start to give some of this to Shannon. Just check in on this. So yeah, having those communication rhythms are huge. The fourth one's pretty obvious, but it's following good marketing and sales principles. But that's super important in the business, in the gym business, because really the name of this game is out. Once you have the personal relationships that you're building, it's marketing and sales. You have to be able especially in New Jersey, there's so many freaking gyms out there. And so it's like,
look at Westfield. We opened a gym where there's like 10 gyms in like a 3-mile radius.
Yeah. So if our marketing's not good, you're going to get lost in the shuffle. If your sales are not
just
good,
like everybody
you
else
lose
at
people.
that point.
Yeah. So you need to have,
what has you stand out?
Yes.
Right. And that's how you do that is by branding, which we just talked about.
Yep.
And marketing effectively with whatever your main offer is.
Yeah. And then having effective lead nurture. Like when someone signs up, they immediately get a contact, they get a text message, there's a phone call, there's this, there's that, to make sure there's no confusion every step of the way. And really for the last thing is like for us, Joe, and we talked about this off air, all those things are great. The first 4 things we mentioned are great. But the 5th thing is having a strong vision and conviction in your product. And for me, that is like the trump all. If you don't have that, the rest of it falls apart. Because if you don't believe in what you do and the service offering you provide, then you're just a used car salesman at that point.
Well, it's exactly. You don't like what's the point of the sale? Right? It's beyond dollars and cents. Okay. It's all about the other 4 things don't even matter unless you have a clear vision of where you want it to go. Okay. If you don't want to grow to multiple locations, you just want to have a very busy single location. You want to stay an owner operator. That's cool.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
But you need to know that that's your vision and how am I going to maximize that?
Right.
Okay. For us, it's opening up locations. We have our streamline. We have our hiring process. We know what our offer is. We know our offer is better than everyone else's offer. And it's been proven that we open a location and it's basically jam-packed already after 60 days. Okay. But if you don't believe in the service, you're not going to be effective in selling it and advertising and marketing.
Yeah. I mean, for us, I've said it on a previous episode, most of the people who work for us, I talked to Courtney about this the other day, like they're not salespeople. They're just really good at selling this. And they're really good at selling this because yes.
Haley too is like, oh, I've never been in sales before. It's not a big deal. Do you believe in the service? Yes. These are all the reasons why.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very easy to push a product when you were 1000% behind it.
Yeah. And that was and another thing was I was talking to a guy named Vinny who coaches at a couple of our locations and somebody else. And it was right before opening Westfield. He's like, man, you guys are doing another one. This is so awesome. And I said to him, yeah. And the reason why Joe and I want to keep doing this and want to keep opening locations is honestly, like, I feel like I have an obligation to 2 people. One is I have an obligation to the people who are looking to get healthy, that if I truly believe what we do is the best product, the best service, the best program out there, that if we don't continue to grow, we're doing people a disservice because they're going to go sign up at these crap programs, not get results, and then just stay overweight. So that's the first subsect of people I feel an obligation towards. And then the second is the people like me, you, Courtney, Shannon, Marquand, the people who are like, I friggin' love this.
Mhm.
And I want to make a real living doing this. Because for me, that was not something I had for the longest time. You know, I struggled for a while.
Mhm.
And it's like, now I'm in a position where it's like, no, I'm making legitimate living. I have a legitimate life. I'm able to get my kids involved in programs, go on vacation, whatever. But for the longest time, it was like, if you wanted a job in the fitness industry, you either had to work at one of these crap organizations that
Yep.
was a meat market, or you worked in this micro gym, had no growth projections, made pennies, and then you had to go get a job doing something else because you couldn't support yourself anymore.
Yeah, it was a hobby.
Exactly.
And for many people, it's just a hobby. And how many people have you said that? Remember the gym you used to work at? What was that one owner's name? Steve? Was that his name?
Yeah.
Steve was like, oh, you can't make any money in the gym business.
Yeah.
And I like looked at him and scratched my head. I'm like, what are you talking
How
about?
about when we went to the CrossFit Games? How many people were like, you guys actually make a living in the gym industry?
Yeah.
And it's like the saddest thing ever. But it's like, we have people who work for us who are making legitimate living in the gym industry, and they're able to keep doing it because of what we're building. And I feel an obligation to continue to grow, to offer opportunities.
And you know
to
this
those
for me,
people.
right? For me, you said it's like, yeah, the client side is so important. It's so rewarding.
Yeah.
But it's even more rewarding to have people like you or people that are like, I make a living doing this.
Yeah.
And they're all on board for it.
Yes.
Right. Like they can pay their bills. They work full time. They, like they buy, you bought a house. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you can be progressive. That's my Joe 101
Yeah.
is if you can be progressive on where I want the business to be able to allow that.
Yeah. And if you couldn't tell and couldn't hear it on our voices, like we have that strong vision and that strong conviction. And I guarantee you, if you talk to one of our general managers, they're going to be able to repeat at least a section of that and believe in it. And if you don't have that, then growing and succeeding with multiple locations is going to be near impossible.
Absolutely.
So thanks for hanging on, guys. We appreciate all the listening that you do. Hopefully you're learning something from these podcasts. As always, like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram. Give us a 5-star rating on all the podcast platforms, and we'll see you at the gym.
Peace.